Do you or your kids love Goldfish Crackers? Ours do, and so do I. But I've always wondered if you can make them at home. So I took to the internet and I found a couple recipes, and I'm gonna kind of combine them with a little bit of my own brain power and see if we can't mimic the real McCoy. Come check out this recipe as we try it out for the first time. Before you start making the recipe, if you don't have ice like I don't, grab some water in a Tupperware and put it in your freezer. We're gonna get started with the basics from the first recipe that I found, and I'll let you know the tweaks that I made. They tell you to add 1 cup of all-purpose flour to your food processor. They tell you to put in a 1/2 teaspoon of paprika, a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and I'm adding a 1/4 teaspoon of celery because I looked at the ingredients of Pepperidge Farm Goldfish Crackers and it mentions celery, and I'm gonna give it a whirl. Because I only had celery seed here, I'm just going to pulse the all-purpose flour with the seasonings first, and then I'll tell you what we're gonna do next. This is a real-time trial, so before I add the butter, I actually have to add cheese, which I didn't read until just now. So let's add some cheese. This is 8 ounces. That is a ton of cheese. I'm not sure that all the recipes call for this, but this is the one that I want to try. So here we go. We're to allegedly pulse this cheese into the flour. Ooh, it's working. I'm pretty sure I forgot to tell you how much butter, but this is 1 stick or about 6 ounces of butter, cold. Salted or unsalted, this recipe calls for salted, my favorite. You're going to pulse this into the flour until you see pea-sized clumps. Now, I'm a bit of a disaster with describing recipes that I'm following, so for all intents and purposes, I'm going to share the recipe below so that you guys can see it for yourself. All right, let's pulse this and see if we can get pea-sized clumps to form. You can see it's starting to get a bit of a sandy texture. Now it tells me to add a tablespoon of water at a time until I get a dough, but because I feel like my cheese is making this more like a dough, I'm starting with a 1/2 tablespoon of ice cold water, and I'll put that down the chute, and we'll pulse. You want a dough to start forming, like a ball. I feel like we're there. Ooh. Yeah, like I don't know that I want to take that and get that any more moist. I think that's good. So it tells me to flour the surface before I get the ball out of there, so I will do just that and pull this out. Oh boy, that's basically cheese. So I think that is a pretty good dough ball. You guys can let me know in the comments what you think of that texture. I think that looks great, and I wouldn't want to add any more water to it. Using the flour, I'm going to just shape it into a ball, and that makes it a little bit less sticky for my hands to handle. This particular recipe doesn't mention to chill the dough, but in the past, I've made plenty of pastry and other things where chilling the dough makes it easier to cut out those shapes, the intricate shapes that we're going to be using. Picked these up off Amazon. You guys can do that as well. I'm gonna post a link. It's 1 piece, but 25 goldfish. Now, if I roll this out before chilling it, I fear it will stick in every nook and cranny of this cookie cutter. So I'm gonna take this ball, I'm gonna chill it for 30 to 60 minutes, and that will make it easier to roll out and firmer to cut out the goldfish. And hopefully they keep their structure in the oven a little bit better. I don't know about any of you, but tearing this always turns into a disaster. Oh, like that. But you take your cling wrap and wrap your dough ball nice and tight, and you just keep going around until you're sure that you have covered every single side. Okay, popping this in the fridge, and we'll see you in 30 to 60 minutes. The dough is just about chilled, so it's time to preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 177 degrees Celsius. Before I pull the dough out, I'm just going to lightly flour a piece of wax paper, and it's wax because I ran out of parchment paper and I do not feel like hunting downstairs for another box. I do have parchment paper lined for the cookie tray because you can't bake with wax paper. Don't make that mistake. Let's get the dough, and I'm gonna tell you one mistake I made. So check this out. I made a ball, right? Well, there's butter and cheese, and when it goes into a fridge, it's hard. I should have flattened this into a disc. It makes it easier to roll out. But let's see what happens. The wax paper or parchment paper that you're gonna roll it out onto is not a necessity. I am just terrified of things sticking to everything, so I'm going to try a little hack I've done in the past. Put the dough between 2 sheets of non-stick paper, press it down into a disc, then grab your trusty rolling pin. You want this as thin, oh yeah, that's hard. Okay, you want this as thin as possible, about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch. Let me work for a minute. All right, let's have some fun, let's cut. Someone say a hope and a prayer, please, that this works. I'm scared. Okay, they didn't all come off, but that's okay. I'm going to put this on the lined sheet. I'm gonna pop these out. I'm also gonna lightly flour this and see if that helps any. Boom. That actually was worse. Almost. Oh, yes. Success. All of them in the mold. Booyah. Boom. Bah. Bam. Having too much fun. Hopefully these don't taste like bum. Not this one. This one has the horn of a demon. Don't eat me. The recipe says to put these bad boys like 1/2 inch apart, but I don't tend to follow rules. Guess we'll find out how bad of a decision that's going to be. Check out this dough. There is no way we can get an actual imprint on this dough. So what you do is collect your scraps, yes, even if there's flour on them, and remake your dough ball. Now, when you do this, your dough will be much warmer and you may be frustrated making the cutouts. So what I suggest doing is remake the ball, bake your first batch, and then come back after having the ball rest in the fridge again for a second round. So these are not spaced out like the recipe told me to do. And one recipe said 10 minutes at this temperature, and one said 15 to 16 minutes. So I'm gonna check these after 10 minutes, but I like crunchy crackers, so they might go in for 15. They look like melting cheese. I do not think these are going to turn out whatsoever. Next batch definitely needs that 1/2 inch spacing. I'm devastated. I forgot to use a toothpick and make an eyeball and potentially a mouth. And I think that's supposed to stop them from puffing up so much. Yikes. All right, well, we did 15, 16 minutes, and I have one lesson. Spacing matters. They still look quite moist, and I don't know if these actually have turned out. I'm going to wait for them to fully cool before we make any flavor testing. Crunch testing? Whatever, till we taste test them. I'm just gonna go ahead and separate these little fishies while they're warm. Anything that's stuck together, just separate them. All right, we have the first batch cooling. We're gonna cut the second batch. I've already flattened it out. I've floured it pretty heavily, I've floured it pretty heavily because I'm not worried about it. There's lots of cheese. I'm going to space this batch out a little bit more and see if they can crisp up a little bit more. Okay, lessons from my kitchen. Don't forget to flour the first piece of paper you rolled it out on, or it all sticks and you're stuck doing this. All right, so because I forgot to flour it, what I'm gonna do is actually take this one, and since that 1/2 is floured, I'm gonna do that. Grab it underneath, do the quick switcheroo, and then flour this. All right, let's see if that helped. Ta-da! Yeah, it helped. Okay, this time I want to try doing eyeballs, maybe mouths. Let's see how this works. I'm just using a toothpick. And we'll just put it in there, make a little indent, and see if that actually makes an eyeball. Instead of poking it, I'm putting it in and kind of drawing a little circle, and it seems to work a little bit better. I'm going to press this in and see if I can give them a little smile. Oop, that one is not so much, that's a frown. Oopsie. Okay, these are ready to go. Now, our middle child absolutely loves salt and vinegar. So what I'm gonna do is put these in here and take some of the popcorn seasoning and sprinkle it on and shake it up, see if that works. That needs more. Immediately more. Let's just douse it. That's what I'm gonna do, just douse it. This taste test is gonna be the salt and vinegar one. Let's see how this is. That's not a goldfish replacement. That's delicious because it's cheese, but it's kind of doughy. Definitely think they're a bit thick. Delicious, but not a Pepperidge Farm goldfish. On to the normal ones. Let's see what these bad boys are like. They're flaky, but they're not like cracker-like. I'm not sold. I'm not disgusted. They're kind of good, but they don't give me that traditional goldfish vibe.
Let's give one of these a shot. Kind of getting the same thing as what you said. Seems a little bit moist for a cracker. Definitely taste the cheese more than anything, I would say. They're good, but not a Pepperidge Farm cracker. Goldfish cracker.
All right, well, our vote has been cast. It's time for the real test, though. Let's see what the kids think.
Okay.
I feel like they're a bit too soft. Like, it'd be better if they were more hard and crispy. They're still really good, though.
You get to try two of them, right, Dad?
Yeah, okay, really good.
So it wasn't a complete bust. The kids actually really liked them. Enzo said the salt and vinegar were better than the Goldfish salt and vinegar that we buy. So I would say overall this is a do-over, except they're not Goldfish crackers. Personally, I want to tweak the recipe and try and see if adding more flour and changing the ratio of butter and cheese to flour makes it more cracker-like, less cheese cracker-like. So that's what we're gonna do in the future. And if you like a channel that shares recipes, tweaks recipes, or comes up with their own, you can go ahead and give us a like and a follow and come back to see what else we have to offer.